All right, welcome to today's shave. B5 knot. I chose a really soft badger knot because today I'm going to do the Marco method, or at least kind of my general understanding of it. So I wanted something soft. It includes a lot of face work. I'm going to put this back in the water so that the tips can keep getting softer. I'm going to use the rest of the items are kind of basic. This is one of the first vintage razors I ever bought, a Gillette. It is a super speed, and it's a little bit different because you've got this kind of tight knurling. The other super speeds are a little thicker in the handle, and they're mostly flare tips, and so the tips flare out a little bit. This one stays kind of even. It does increase slightly with the knob here. And it's, of course, as you can see, like many of the other, I think they're all barn door style, twist to open. This does have the notched center bar. You can see the notch right there to reach in and grab the blade. That was a gimmick a long time ago. This is a really close shaver. If you look at this, this surface right here as it tilts down, and half of it is those slots, that's how close the bottom supports the edge of the blade. And so I haven't used this too much because I just came into so many razors over time that I didn't really revisit this guy. But I recall him being a really, really good shaver. Now this one says, this one is undated, does not have a date code. That's sometimes abbreviated as NDC. And I think, 1947, 48 or 49, somewhere around there, was that no date code period for this style. It came out as a super speed, I believe. We call it the 40s style, but I don't think that was the name used back in its day. It does have an appearance like the 40s style razors instead of that flare tip look. So this is called the 40s style. It can be easily obtained. Sometimes for 20 bucks you can get 6 different vintage razors and have this be 2 of them. And so it can be obtained pretty cheaply on eBay, as long as you just look and make sure that it doesn't look all busted up and stuff. Even a lot of the corrosion and stuff, as long as it's not really bad, can be just scrubbed away. You'd be really surprised how well these things restore. But don't pay more than, if it's in great shape, maybe 20 bucks, 25 if it's in spectacular shape would be my guess. But if it's a normal one, maybe 15 or something like that, plus shipping, might be a good one because there are lots of these available. All right, we're inside of it. I'm just having fun trying out different razors on this Wizamet Spr Iridium Xtr Stnlss. It is the blade that some claim is the same as the Pole Silver, because after all, it does have the same markings as the Pole Silvers do. All right, this one hadn't been used too many times. Maybe this is the 6th use. Drop it in. Ready to go. Okay, and we are going to be using the number 63 because today is the Marco method with the number 63. I've had it soaking for several minutes, so it has had some moisture added to the soap. I'm going to throw some moisture on my face. It has been a long day of driving as I've come home, and I'm tired. I probably still have some 5-hour energy coursing through my veins, so if you perceive energy, that's where that is coming from, that B10 or B something vitamins that has. Now the Marco method is to just load a lot. So, and as far as I know, load pretty wet. So I'm not going to shake or anything. Now some of that water is just going to start to come out as you start working with this. And I believe part of the Marco method is just to kind of work the tips. Don't push it, make it splay, all that. Now, so this is what I'm going to be doing because it's dripping so much for now. I'm going to kind of move it down below, and we'll just see if we can Marco this guy. Some people really like the Marco method because there's less thinking involved, because what you're doing is scrubbing on the soap until it kind of turns into a thick, kind of a pasty thing. Right now it's super wet, a few bubbles. There's some videos out there. Manifesto might be the guy who did one of the Marco method videos. So, take a look out there on YouTube. It doesn't look like much is happening right now. Some soaps you can't really Marco. I tried to Marco a Sella, and at least it did not Marco with maybe the soft badger brush I was using or something. I think it was brush. I think I could Marco it with a different brush. So what we're going to look for, I should have noticed what time I started doing this, but you can always rewind and make a note of it yourself. So yeah, I'm just using the tips. This is a soft tipped badger brush. It's very dense. Maybe this soap is not really all that conducive to the Marco method, but hey, that's something we'll learn today if that's what's true. I do have just very wet soap kind of going over the sides here. We could also call this a long load with a really soppy wet brush, badger brush. We could see how this soap does with that. And I'm just not pressing in very much. Man, I love the scent on this soap. So good. And then the idea of Marco is you then face lather, I believe. Well, it's not really changing very much, to be honest with you. I mean, we're starting to definitely see some buildup, but I mean, I think this is kind of excessive. It is a quad milled hard soap, and so maybe the Marco method wasn't designed on, on something like this. Who knows? Maybe a stiff bore brush would be a little better with it. I don't know. It is starting to get just a little thicker, but I'm pretty sure it's been a few minutes now of loading, and that's kind of, I want to stick within the realm of reason, right? So let's just assume that what I've got on here is good. And then I'm going to rinse out my puck here. The sides, because I don't want the threading to get soap build up. Then it's hard to screw on these caps. Just personal preference of mine. So then I do it upside down. See, so the soap doesn't really get washed out. All right. See how this will work with face lathering. Throw some water on my face again. Now I am going to do the tip dip method. And so I'm going to fill my little lather bowl here with water. I'm just going to dip the tips. That's going to be a little quicker, I think. So we'll just start. And so we're going to trust that we've got enough soap loaded. Sometimes the Marco can be a little messy, but that could also be a skill that you improve over time. So there we go. We're really starting to make some lather. I'll do a dip there. Because we just want to end up with some usable lather. Some good lather. This soap doesn't make rich lather so far, unless you really run it pretty dry. but it's not designed to be a top tier soap. It's designed to be inexpensive and long lasting and have a great scent. See, now that's what I hate about the face lathering method. You can have a nice concentrate just fly right off and all your effort is just kind of wasted. Maybe if you like your lathers kind of on the dry side, then that doesn't happen to you as often. At least this brush feels great on my face. But hey, if you are, and I'm sure there are some of you out there, some expert face latherers, because I'm not one, critique my technique. I'd love to hear from you. Oh, the lather's starting to look a little nicer. And with face lathering, you kind of have to hope that you have enough soap in your brush for all the passes that you need. Okay, there we go. We've still got some soap in there, so we'll hope that it lasts. Let's see how messy this is. Now, should we judge face lathering by the condition of my shirt? One of the reasons why we shouldn't is because I'm not an expert face latherer. So we have to be fair, right? We need to watch the experts and judge it that way. All right, so 40 style super speed with the Wizamet blade. Pretty good comfort. I do feel the blade edge, but it seems to be cutting nicely. And pretty smoothly, nice control. I'm going to rinse it out here and look underneath the blade and see the support on the underside of the blade comes to close to like 3 millimeters away from the edge, and I think that's above average, and I think that's one of the reasons it's so smooth compared to its other super speeds. I shaved with a TV special, one of the flare tips to super speeds, a few months ago, and I had forgotten how much noise they made, because, and then I looked, they didn't really hold the edge, hold up to the edge of the blade. It's just the way it goes. So this guy's shaving really well. It's a great little razor. I might recommend it over the Tech. The Tech's a really mild razor, but I think it doesn't support the blade right as much, and so I get just a little more exposure on them than this guy. I think I might have to have a budget vintage razor shave off. Go back and forth each day with the two razors and see if I can form an opinion there. All right, rinse time. Just a half rinse. Leaving a little bit of slickness on the face will probably help the this lather here, the second pass. Give it a little boost. And as you can see, we don't have a lot of lather here. And I loaded for a long time. Now who knows, maybe I don't see a lot of soap in that water bowl that I dipped in, and so I don't think I lost a lot of soap by perhaps dipping in water too much, you know. So it just didn't pick up a ton of soap with such a tip only, light pressure, a lot of water. Maybe that's not the right loading method for this type of knot. Maybe it needs to be a little drier so that maybe it picks up a little bit more soap. So that's something else to perhaps try. Very comfortable. The razor did chatter just a little bit, kind of in a skippy kind of way. That's something it does when the lather's too wet. Often. I do feel like with improper technique, this razor, I could give myself a little bit of irritation. So it's not foolproof, but it's a very comfortable, enjoyable razor. And I like the look of it too. It's got a great vintage look. All right. Rinse. I do have a little tenderness in a couple of places, but we'll just see how that pans out by the end of the shave. And so this is maybe one of the main reasons I like to bowl lather. Here we are, third pass, and we have a skimpy lather. And so maybe if you can get your shave done in 2 passes, that's a good reason why face lathering could be for you. But if you do 3 or 4 passes, then maybe bowl lathering is a better option for you. Because otherwise, what? You got to go back, load some more soap, start all over. Let's just see what happens. If I've got too wet of a mix on my face, then how about we load for 10 seconds. Kind of quickly, so it's kind of a fast load. There's 10. Let's see what happens to the lather. Because see, that I wouldn't mind if that's enough to fix everything. You know, I wouldn't mind doing that to get, if I wanted to face lather. That's not a whole lot of time wasted. Yeah, it's thickening it up. 10 seconds may have actually been too much. So what can we do? A little dip. We can see the lathers being built up. But again, see, here we are. We're using up time to build the lather again. We're having to build lather twice. If you want to do that, that's great, you know. But maybe a better face lather doesn't have to do this very much. You know, so, all right. I think we have this is a better situation than if I would not have gone back and loaded for 10 seconds. It felt a little thick, so maybe a 5-second load would have not meant I had to add more water, you know, that kind of thing. All right, so third pass now. Nimble little razor with this narrow handle, so it's easy to spin around. It's easy to maneuver. Puffing out my cheeks while I do that portion. Lather feels pretty good. I feel like I'm getting good protection. Feels like I'm, you know, wet enough. I do feel like maybe there's some tender spots. Maybe because the lather just wasn't all that great. Especially that second one. Oh, you know what? Let's throw a little bit of touch-up lather right there. And this is my trouble spot. So just kind of a light touch. And then trim around the edges here. Come down into it. Don't want to go against the grain. That usually gives me irritation. Try that light touch again. That's my secret. It just seems to do pretty well for that area. A little bit of irritation, but if it gets me in a good shave, it's probably light enough to where it'll go away very soon after the shave's done. So this is a really nice little razor. This blade seems to do pretty well in it. Not the best, but pretty well. And rinse. I do have just a little bit of razor burn around. Blade, razor, sloppy technique, crappy lather on that second pass. Not quite sure what the culprit is, but in a way that's nice. I'm testing out another balm. This is from Aqua Velva, and it's available in some of the big box stores, Amazon, things like that. 5-in-1 aftershave balm. Those are all the things that it says it does. It does say it's lightly scented, so we'll see how that works out. Soothes redness, help prevents bumps, all-day moisture, non-burning. And I have a friend online with dry skin, and he kind of knows a lot about balms and things. Let's see if you can get a good snapshot or pause to be able to read the ingredients for your own benefit there. So the instructions, it says small amount in hands, apply on face, you know, pretty normal. I already pulled the little foil seal off. Let's use about as much as I do of sterling, and we'll see how well this does. Face is wet, so that'll make applying it not generate very much friction, you know, which is nice. Well, you know what, did I rinse? Yeah, I did. Yeah, just a light scent. I like that. That's nice. And a little goes a long way. This wasn't super expensive. I think $6 or $7. And my friend said that a lot of the big box, like the Nivea and stuff, is great for average skinned folks. But if you've got dry skin, you need something with power. You need something with some high duty moisturizing action. And this is one of the ones in his list that he recommended. And what's special about this one is it doesn't have menthol. And that was why I made a note of it. There's some other ones that he really likes that do have menthol, but those are, you know, not for me. All right, well, there we go. It's already starting to heal my face pretty well. You can definitely see it on, so it might take a few minutes. Sterling is sometimes that way. It might take a few minutes to absorb, but it might give me some nice, well-hydrated skin as a result. So I'm going to let it soak in while I clean up. So for me, that's not quite as much fun to shave with. You do get it's just a lot of work on your face. Maybe if I didn't have a goatee and could kind of go all over my face with it, it might be a little easier with the arm motions and things, but it's just a lot of work to get that lather up to where it needs to be. And then once you get a good bit of lather on your brush, it starts flying off and it's wasted. So it's not going to be there when you know you're going to need it in that third pass. But I probably added a little bit too much water, maybe too much of a dip. So that's why, especially on that third pass, it looked like I had some pasty stuff going on. And then it was too wet after that. And so there's kind of inconsistency there. This balm is still on me, so I guess a little really does go a long way. I didn't need to use quite that much. So one thing I can do, just kind of smooth out, maybe pick up the excess with my hand. Yep, rub it on my dry elbows, that sort of thing. All right, so I definitely can use some practice. Maybe what I can try tomorrow or the next time I want to use the PDP, use that same brush to come at it just a little drier instead of having so much water on it. Maybe it made it hard to pick up the soap, and that could have been part of the problem. It may have been some of the problem with the Sella that several months ago that I was trying to Marco. But too much water in the brush, I think, got in the way, since I like soft brushes. Maybe the guys who were doing the Marco with a lot of water, maybe they had like these scrubby brushes, and so it works out for them. So maybe us soft brush guys need to back off on that super watered knot in the beginning. Who knows? We'll go to shot sometime and see. Playing around with the PDP is fun. I'm definitely seeing, a dip down in, but I'm also doing these experiments with the usage and lots of loading, and so that's going to be wearing away at the soap more than normal. And part of the bad thing about, at least with a lather bowl, if I overload and end up with too much lather, I can then estimate how many passes, and then I can do the math based on the number of passes I got in the 15 days. However, with face lathering, you get a lot of wasted concentrate that goes down the drain after the first one, so you don't know how many passes of lather you could have potentially gotten. Anyway, I got 3 passes of lather for all that loading. Not worth it to me, so that is not a good method. We'll try something else next time. I love the scent as usual, and I picked a great brush. I didn't get any kind of brush burn. It was comfortable and soft. I like that razor. That's I really enjoy the smoothness of that razor, so I'll definitely be bringing that guy back sometime. He's an inexpensive buy, and so if you're thinking vintage, you like the look of that guy, then pick one up. Super speed. You can see the knurling is down here. I took out the blade, right? Yep. See, this one doesn't really separate, right here. There's the inside. It's got the end caps. You see one of these in decent condition on eBay for $9 or $10, even 15. It's probably going to be a good buy. And it's comfortable, but it got the job done. I'm really happy with the closeness. So it's I think it's a nice moderate razor with with kind of a lean towards smoothness while still keeping good efficiency. So I think that makes it a really nice razor. I think it's well balanced. It felt good in the hand. It felt appropriate. So there we go. So when the head's contacting your skin a little bit, it'll balance out just a little nicer. So I think that's a nice little piece. And at such a low price, it's a great one to add to your collection. I think the performance of it's great, how it clamps down so close to the edge of the blade. Just a nice one. I think we're good. Everything's put away. The scent on the Balm, I'm glad it had some scent. It's nice, and it kind of reminds me of the Nivea. But we're good, I think. I sure hope there was something here for you that you enjoyed. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. You take care and have a good night.